What's going on, people? So recently I did 10 games as Exaction. If you're following me on my Patreon or whatever the case is, wherever I post the bat reps, you'll know that I just finished them not too long ago, just before the balanced data slate. So I'm going to go over my games, go over some standard loadouts and equipment, and go over a couple things that you want to be looking for map-wise with this team. This team can do a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. But there's a couple things you need to be making sure you're trying to take advantage of, because you're just going to be kneecapping yourself if you don't. So real quick, with the Operatives, is what I'll cover first, is the Proctor Exactant with the change in the balanced data slate, where now his melee profile is just 4 attacks on 3s, 4/4 lethal, 5 stun, repress. I don't think there's ever a reason to take the Proctor with the shotgun. The other bonus that the team got is not only is his execution order 0 command points the first time you use it, you don't need visibility, you just pick a person, have relentless against that person for the rest of the game, and on top of that, he can drop his Aquila for free, where it used to be you had to plan where he was going to go, move 6 inches, because that's his move, and then drop his Aquila wherever you were going to drop it. This one doesn't. Oop, like this. You had to plan that out from his initial movement. And there have been games where I was tempted to pregame dash him, to have him recon dash forward so that he can move to a more beneficial spot to be able to drop this Aquila, because this Aquila is part of this team's superpower, especially on control, secure, and loot missions. Making anyone do this for 2 action points, or more than 1, or even 1 if they're Phobos, is a big deal. Now you can position him pretty far forward. He's a huge power piece, so he's going to be someone that you want to take advantage of about mid turn 2, because you don't want to overexpose him early turn 2 and possibly lose him for the rest of the game. He's a huge power piece. He can go toe to toe with assault intercessors and power fisters, or whatever the case is. He can bring the pain. So now he can move 1 and then 5 and then dash and then drop his Aquila wherever he pleases. So this is amazingly powerful. It also means that in Into the Dark missions, if there's a door that you need opened, he's probably the one you recon forward. You recon him forward so that he can reach some of the farther doors, move forward to open the door, and then finish his move away from the door, for example, and then drop your Aquila through the room into a point where someone's trying to loot or secure it. Which means that a lot of 2 APL teams need to either burn their +1 APL with their comms, or just cannot get there. The way Corsairs have to do it is they have to dash on the objective and then use both of their APL to get there, to secure or loot or whatever the case is. And because they count as 1 less, if you get a guy on there, it's yours now. It's quite powerful. So these 3 models you're going to take literally every game, no exceptions. The Castigator, the Vox, and the Proctor with the shield. The Castigator has a 6-up Fill No Pain, ignores APL modifiers and other weapon skill, ballistic skill modifiers, damage profile modifiers. And he's one of the few models on the team that can get a double kill with +1 APL, where he can charge, hit someone twice with his baton that actually does 4/4 damage, get a kill, and then shoot someone else. I did that in 2 Corsairs to amazing effect, and he'll take some pain on the way, but because he's immune to modifiers and a 6-up Fill No Pain, there's a non-zero chance that he can take a power sword to the face. Even if he takes all 6 damage, he's still operating at full and shooting someone with a 4/4 shotgun. And then he gets the benefits of any of the rerolls and such that you do. It's quite powerful. And then if one of his targets has relentless, he becomes even more consistent. I didn't go over the team's rules, but I'm going to finish going over these 3 real quick since I'm here. The Vox is just a guy with a shotgun that also does Vox things. He just needs visibility. So he's one of the better Voxes in the game. He's no cast skin, but it's a very effective Vox. Plus his shotgun is still a solid shotgun. So the Space Cops, the RBDs, whatever you want to call them, their main faction thing is they shoot into combat as much as they like. The 4/4 shotguns is pretty good. which is part of the reason why I do take some of the equipment that I will be talking about later. They're a 11 model team at 8 wounds. Most of them have a 4-up armor. The guys with shields all have 3-up armor, which makes them very tanky against most standard firearms. You won't find standard bolters or auto pistols or much of that effect doing damage to those guys. The 3-up armor is really nice to have. So that's the standard of the team. The guys with shields are all 4/4s hit on 4s with stun and repress now. The repress is the big deal. I think that you're going to be finding that the Exactant doesn't get the same buffs. Like you'll throw the rerolls against someone that you're going to send your other shield bros against. You'll send it against any of the operatives he has on this side of the field. Because he doesn't really need them. He hits on 3s and has lethal 5. So his damage output is very consistent and his tankiness is even better because of the lethal 5. These guys need the help. They need the help so much. So any of the rerolls you're going to be trying to boost the subductors especially. So 2 of the models you're going to take a lot of the time on the team is this Revelatum and the Malakator. So the Revelatum's thing, 2 parts of it. He's got a 6-inch move pregame that counts as fly. So he can start the game in some ridiculously forward positions. And I'll try to talk about some of the combos regarding him in a moment. The Malakator gets free mission actions. She has another ability that I have not used. It's just so situational and requires line of sight, not just visibility. So it's really rare that you're going to do that and not just shoot someone. But you take her because being able to move dash and do a free mission action means that you can reach places that you wouldn't normally reach, or reach positions from safety instead of having to expose to light cover, whatever the case is. You can put her really far out. With a 9-inch move, you can get her into some very distant lands. As if she wanted, she can almost reach this objective by herself. So the move dash, start her on conceal back here. It's quite useful. Yep. So she can go and take that objective and cause some mayhem for your opponent. The free mission action is just amazingly powerful, especially on Into the Dark. On Into the Dark, I think the Malakator is an auto-include. And then into anyone that's not dwarves, I think the Revelatum is also an auto-include. Because the forward movement on the Revelatum is just such a big deal. I very commonly take a crack grenade with him because it's more threatening than the 3-3 pistol, and this is 3-1. Trust me, it's a 3-3 pistol. And there's a couple little things you want to look out for with him, and I'll get to that in a moment. But just having the crack grenade forward so far means that he can be here on engage at the start, and then if he's here after his pregame move, there's not really an angle that anyone can shoot him because he's going to be obscured from both sides. So someone has to get the edge of their base all the way out here, which is 10 inches of movement from the deployment line, which is not easy to do. And if they're doing a recon dash or have forward movement, then maybe you'll be able to tell about it. But this is a really safe position from a lot of the map. So situations like that are why I take the Revelatum very, very commonly. So these 5 models I played with almost every map. I think I did not take the Malakator once in one of the capture missions, but in that case, you just take the medic. The Chirugant, you just take the medic. He's another dude with a shotgun that has a special ability. There's Vigilance, which is just a standard warrior with shotgun. I wouldn't even put them on the roster. You're never going to use them. There's always going to be someone else that has a shotgun that does something else that does it better. And if you're going to be trying to take a gun for a 6-inch range, you can take the Weber or the heavy stubber or something and be bringing a gunner as well. The Marksman is one of the models that I drop really consistently. He just consistently disappoints me. 4/4 damage on the shotgun. Mortal Wounds 3 is nice. He does have lethal 5. Because he's dashing all the time, it's really rare that he gets to take aim, which that balance reroll helps a ton. And I would only really take him on open boards or in a mission where you know that he's going to want to sit and conceal and not get charged, and maybe hold down a firing lane, since he could loot or secure from a point of cover and give some supporting firepower at the same time. It's very niche. He sort of counteracts to what the team wants to do, which is to be operating in this 6-inch zone where you can shoot into combat, since you do have to be within 6 inches to shoot into combat. But he has his uses. The gunners all have their uses. You have the Weber and the Heavy Stubber or the Grenade Launcher. With the change to the Exaction order to give Relentless against the model, the Grenade Launcher now has play. It didn't before, because it's hitting on 4s with no rerolls. You cannot shoot it into combat because it has the grenade keyword. And it's 4-6 AP1, which is just a really wonky profile, but hitting on 4s means that you hit once or twice and then they save one or both of their hits. And into 3-up armor, which is what you really want, you need the dice to go your way to be able to plug them. And you're usually mobbing onto those models anyway, so not being able to shoot into combat with the grenade really feels bad and makes it feel like it's counterproductive to the team. The Heavy Stubber can get P1 and then benefits the same as Relentless. I like the Heavy Stubber a lot more, especially now that you can give Relentless against the target. Because the Heavy Stubber, even though it still moves 3, it also does shoot into combat. It would mean you have 2 Heavy Operatives, which is fine. It's not like your whole team is, and you have 9 other models to play the mission and move up and contest the board, which is just as many as other teams. So you have 2 guys sitting in the back supporting and looting, and 9 other guys trying to fight for the midfield. So it's not a bad plan. I never ended up taking the Weber. I'm sure I would against Gellerpox, but the Stubber is sort of my favorite gunner of the flavors. The Marksman does shoot from conceal, which is nice in some matchups, but it's sometimes a little situational. The other thing that you want to consider is into the dark missions is you take the Leashmaster and the Mastiff. Being able to +1 APL the Leashmasters. The Leashmaster can move and open a door, have the dog go charge in, shoot and give yourself P1, and then the dog can fight or bite someone. It is really good. It helps the team perform double kills in a single activation. There's no source of blast on this team. You can take a frag grenade, which is not going to kill much. But other than that, this is one of the most consistent ways to get 2 kills in a single activation of your side. The other option is the Castigator. And you notice I had to say you give the +1 APL. On closed boards, the Leashmaster can't open doors for free. So you commonly want to give them the +1 APL so you can move, open the door, let the dog charge since their activations are linked together. And then you can shoot into combat and possibly kill one model and then have the dog fight another model, whatever the case is. So, or into elites, you'll put 8 to 12 damage into a Marine, assuming you have either rerolls or either the Relentless reroll or the 1 die reroll within 4. Then you get the P1 from the dog being within 2 of the Marine. So you put 4 to 8 damage in, and then the dog can bite them for another 3 to 8 damage with lethal 5 on 4 attacks. And then he can get Relentless himself because the Master can just give it to him. So this becomes a pseudo 4 APL model since he yells at the dog for free. And being able to do all those activations all at the same time is something that is not difficult to pull off, but it's very rewarding. And the thread of GA2 with models that aren't just guardsmen is very solid to do. It's one of Corsair's superpowers. It's also one of Hunterclade's superpowers. And this is where you do it right here, is with this team. With these 2 models right here. It does mean it's a little forecasted, but you take what you can get. I ended up running a lot of Subductors, even in situations where I shouldn't. For example, I should probably run more shotguns into Corsairs, because all the lethal 5-up means that these guys are not going to be able to parry out. They're going to die. Maybe that's different now because you can just try to give them rerolls and go for killing instead of tanking. Because if they charge you, you still get to hit twice. So we'll see. And I'm not sure how that changes out with the changes to the exactor rerolls and such. So yeah, so that's the base of the team. If you do need more shotguns, you can take vigilance, but if you are taking that many shotguns, why? This is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And if you're not taking at least one more shield, who are you fighting that doesn't have 2 melee operatives? Like, if you took every single specialist and then 1 extra shield person, that's 11. And that's a lot of dude bros that aren't... Like, the subductors are really, really solid into so many teams. I don't think there's ever a case where I don't think there's a team where you wouldn't take at least 3 of them. Or 2 shield bros and the proctor. So you'd be leaving one of these specialists at home at least. The ones to drop, in my opinion, very commonly are the Leash Master and the Dog, depending on who it is. If they're a 9 or 10 wound team, like Orcs, I'd probably take them into Orcs. There's a situation where you don't take both of these guys. But in closed door matchups, the Marksman gets dropped really quickly. The Chirurgeon can heal. I'm going to talk about this guy getting more value from him in just a moment. And the gun or something you usually drop a lot as well. If there's no mission action, say it's capture and you're not on Into the Dark, you would drop the Mallecator. If you're into Dwarves, you would drop the Revelatum because you can't forward move. And you want the stronger options with the rest of the team. But other than that, there's never a case to take another Vigilant instead of the Subductor, in my opinion. Yeah. So setting up this team is pretty commonly to be checking for which objectives you can get to. Your deployment priorities is going to be with your Revelatum is going to be in the last group. I would say that the Castigator is going to be commonly in the last group. Your Subductors will be one of your first groups. It'll be 3 Subductors. And then your middle group will be probably not your Proctor. It'll probably be all your helpers, the Vox, the Marksman, the Medic, the Mallecator, or the Dog, the Leash Master like this. Whatever the combination thereof is. So you do 3, 4, 4 and deploy it that way. There's a couple combos you want to watch out for turn 1. So for equipment, if they have a shield, I give them a flashlight. That's just how I do it. The Crack Grenade will go on the Revelatum. If the Revelatum is not getting taken because you're against Dwarves, you can throw it on any Subductor or even your Proctor is fine. Giving it to someone else is an option. I like putting it on a Subductor because that means if they have 3 APL, they can charge, fight, kill a Dwarf, and then throw a Crack Grenade and kill a Dwarf, which is pretty solid. Another option is to give it to the Castigator if you're against something like Nurgle, because it'll get affected by his ignoring modifiers ability, so it'll actually do 4 damage to Nurgle Marines. It's pretty nice. So let's talk about some early combos with this team. Oh, one more thing before we do that, because I did not talk about these in my review. I'm a prepared content creator, as you all are well aware. All right. So equipment. Little equipment button. So this is the shot pistol right here. I like it a lot, but you're always getting the Crack Grenade. Okay, and then you take a lot of the flashlights. In most matches, I took 3 to 4 of them. Ooh, that did not draw very well. Which means you have 3 or 4 points left. Very commonly to take 4, because even if you only take 2 Shield Bros and your leader, you'll very commonly take another flashlight on the Castigator, because he likes to get up in close and melee, and preventing rerolls on him is very solid. It also creates this another aura of like 2 damage to me. It's just another thing that he shuts down and ignores, which will leave you 2 or 3 equipment points left. We have 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 of these, and then the crack grenade. So this is 6, 7. If you take the Churgant, taking the visor for when he medics someone is advisable. Something that I've been considering is that now that the Proctor is such a boss, the leader is such a boss with lethal 5, repress, 4/4 hitting on 3s, and all the things he does. There's a non-zero chance you just take the medic to follow him around and heal him. With the flashlight on the Proctor because he's got the shield, the Churgant just runs around and heals him. You give the mirror visor to both these guys and be like, cool, these two do their thing all game long. You can't minus with their APLs because of the visors. You can't shoot this guy to death because the Churgant's going to stay close and concealed, and he's a monster in melee. So this just becomes a really hard shield wall to break, and the Proctor is here for it. He's quite a monster. I know it's weird to say that this guy's quite a monster with only 9 wounds. There's not a melee profile that this guy doesn't shut down. Harlequins with the power sword with the double strike when they come in, they need to roll 3 crits because he has lethal 5, which means he's very, very, very commonly going to hit a crit in one of those attacks, which means he can double parry crits. So if you're a Harlequin and you roll 2 crits and 3 hits, suddenly you can't even murder his entrance. So you hit him for 4, he double parries the other hits you have and then bonks you back for 4. It's amazingly powerful. It's quite good. And being able to prevent the shooting here is very clutch and key. Even Phobos, they're going to come in, even if they roll a crit on their 5 attacks because they don't have lethal 5. They, again, need to roll 3 crits in their attack because this is not enough, even if it's their leader and this hits. So we're going to copy this. And then the Proctor has 4 attacks. The lethal 5. Okay? Even if this doesn't hit, even if I don't have rerolls, that doesn't matter. This is going to take the crit, block a crit in a normal, and even if the Phobos player does the assault strike and hits for 2, cool. I parry this, and then I bonk you for 4, which means I'm at 1, and you're at 8, and which is perfect shotgun range, and you failed to kill my leader with your leader. And then if you don't double strike, you only do 4 damage because I'm going to double parry and hit you for 4. And if you do double strike, and that 1 was a miss, that means I bonk you for 8. So we both took 8. I'm alive at 1, and then the first thing he does is just activate and punch you back on a 4-up. And that Phobos Reaver is dead. It is amazingly powerful. The combination of repress with the lethal 5-up. This guy's a monster. So this combo is something I want to really try out with the team. It's not something I was able to try out since all of my games were before the data slate. But these two need to run together. And I want to see what this can do. So the argument point for bringing the medic along goes up with the data slate. This becomes an amazing front to any team. This is really hard to break through. With any equipment points left after this, so this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. There's quite possibly a case where you drop one of these. Maybe. We'll see. But other than that, I only take the visors on this. I would only take both visors on this combo. Besides that, I would only run it on the medic. If you're going to run him to save the gunners, just take it on the medic so that he can save them and still heal them and such. Shot pistols. This attack profile looks really bad. It's 4 attacks on 4 pluses, on 4s, for 3/3. It does get the P1 when someone's within melee range, but it's got 6-inch range. So, like, the stat profile is not scary, but it's very consistent, and it's just an extra threat that lets your subductors do a thing. They're the only ones that would ever take this. They're the only ones that don't have a shooting profile. I don't put that on the Exactant, because if the Exactant's doing anything offensive, he's whacking people with a stick. So that's where I'm at with that. The shot pistols have killed Marines. They have consistently done 6 damage, because when you roll them, they hit, they do damage. It's pretty good. I think I was 3 or 4 games in to realize you need another operative within 2 inches to get P1 against your target. You can't just do it with yourself. I don't think it ever mattered in too many games, but just a quick note of the rules there. So this is an equipment cover. The last thing I want to cover is a couple combos. It's really just one combo, and then being aware of your Aquila. So the one combo that I have found with this team, it's like a pregame threat that you can manage, is very board dependent. Now I pulled up this board because it's the board that I did it on, and you have to realize where the exposed objective is from either side, because there's the positioning that you can get with your Revelatum. So from this side, I'd probably put him over here, because with his pregame move, he can move like this, which means he's safe from up there. And anyone that tries to get onto the objective that isn't tucked in back here, he can expose and then move back to someone that shoots, because his exposure is anyone within 3, and then you have the marksman here that can shoot into an objective. So if I was on blue side, I would not be looking for this combo, but from red side, the very obvious thing in the game I did it on, I put a barricade like this, and then put him here on conceal, and then with the pregame move, I just moved him 6 inches like this. And the way his reveal works is he has to be within 6 inches and see somebody. So I can see anyone that's on this objective and be within 6 inches of them. Maybe I was over a little bit more. I don't remember exactly. And so he just sort of sat here and waited for someone to jump on this objective. My opponent had a barricade like this, something to that effect, and he had his operative back here. Okay. And with my first move, I took my Proctor. What do you got? Move 6 inches up and drop the Aquila like so. So anywhere he is on this objective, it takes him another action point. So even though this was a 3 APL model, he can't just willingly jump on here, because he can scramble move and get here. But then not only is he using all his APL of 1 to move, 2 to do the action, but then I can expose him and either move back to my gunners, since I had my stubber here and my marksman here. I could move back to here, treat him as engage, and have my stubber dash over and shoot if he doesn't give me an obscurity shot, or just my marksman can just plug shots into him. The third option I had was to +1 APL the Revelatum from here. After he's here and on conceal, because if he's on engage, it doesn't matter, right? So he's going to go on, he's going to stand conceal with 3 APL. I'm going to switch to engage, going to activate my thing, I'm going to throw a crack grenade, and if it doesn't kill him, then I reveal him. So any of my friendly models within 3 inches of the Revelatum get to shoot. Then we'll move back to probably say about this point. Dash my marksman, or even not even dash my marksman. I think I just had him like this. This is not exposed. Yeah. So I just take aim and plug more shots into him. And that would have definitely set that player back. Being able to take down a 3 APL model early on like that for a 1-point primary is really good. And then if the crack grenade goes too well, say the crack grenade kills whatever this is, then after the 3 APL, I can literally just move up and retake this point from him. That does mean my marksman's not doing anything, but that's fine, because the marksman doesn't need to move up very far to be threatening this objective all game. And then I just moved my marksman out this way. So it just creates situations like this where you can either threaten to kill a model, or you threaten to take this objective away from him. Because if he jumps on here with a 2 APL model, he counts as 1 when he's inside the Aquila, which means not only can I crack grenade him, and if by some miracle it doesn't kill whatever the 2 APL model is, then I can still move onto the point and take it from him. And if he puts two 2 APL models on there, I can crack grenade 1. It probably kills most 2 APL models. Move on to the point and take it from him, because I'll count as 3 and he'll count as 1. It's very oppressive when you can find an objective that's sort of out in the open like this. And it's pretty nice. And because it takes him an extra action to secure this or loot this, if this model, even if it's 3 APL, it needs a free mission action to be able to move here, loot, or secure, and then dash. Even as a Phobos player, they'd be able to move, secure it, and then dash to here. But if they do that, then I can still expose them, throw the crack grenade, and go to town. So it's very much a one-sided positioning thing, and you want to look out for that. This is one of the strongest combinations I found. I won that game against Legionnaires, really specifically because of this combo, being able to put pressure on this side of the board like that. And it's very, very useful. The Proctor, again, with this damn Aquila, if someone wants to make you go first, you're fine with it. You drop it within 6, it's 0 APL, so you can be constantly moving it as well. 0 APL to move it, so the first time you throw it here, oops, go away. TTS things. So you throw it here, throw it just to cover the objective, and then after that, say he bums Russian icon or something over here, cool. You activate, move this thing 6 inches. Cool. Now you count as 1 APL less. I have 3 guys. I'm 6 APL. I'm going to secure this, and then I move on with my life, whatever the case is. And it just becomes one of those things where you can just keep moving this as long as your leader's alive. And it stays. Even if your leader's dead. If I put this here, and he gets initiative turning point 2, and my leader dies, it just stays here. Makes him scoring this, whatever this is, secure, capture, doesn't matter, so much harder. And it's quite powerful. It's quite amazing. If this is capture, the other combo you can do is once you drop the Aquila there, say he puts a Marine here, they have 3 APL, cool. You go to engage with the rail bottom, throw the grenade, and then just walk onto the point. And then for your last activation, you Vox him to make him 3 APL. So now you're 3, the Space Marine is 2, and you capture this point. It doesn't work against an icon. It doesn't work against the Marine icon, so the Rubric icon and the CSM icon bearer, it doesn't work against since they count as an additional one. But that means that their icon bearer is there, and you can set this play up somewhere else, or even just contest them if it's capture. It's pretty amazing. Being able to deny a primary point that looks really safe, honestly, for a lot of teams. You put a barricade here, and people are very commonly comfortable with this positioning because there's not really a vantage point that a lot of players can get to threaten this, and they just stay within 1, not 11, 1. So this is a pretty defensible position from most angles in the game. And then being able to shut this down with the Aquila is part of this team's superpowers. And using this Aquila properly is going to be a big key to your success. You're going to want to use it early. The other thing is when you do this, don't forget to activate the Proctor's tactical ploy, since it activates when he activates, not during the strategic ploy phase, and pick someone to get relentless against. even if it's Hunter Clade, even if they're Exaction Squad, even if they can shut off your rerolls, put it on someone. Don't put it on someone that has a flashlight naturally, but put it on someone so that you can get your extra rerolls for free. And that's something you're probably going to want to be spending CP on. Melee rerolls and shooting rerolls. Maybe you do the melee rerolls for your subductors, but your shooting rerolls are going to be very next to nil. You're going to spend the CP on the Proctor's execution order instead, a lot of the times. The other thing you want to look out for early game is the Mallocator, just for which objectives you need to go to. Maybe not this map, but the maps that look like this one, for example. This is one of my most hated maps, is Approach. And I know this terrain is not good for Approach. It happens. Okay? But if you're going to try to get to somewhere that's like all of these objectives require you to get more than 6 inches out from your deployment zone, which means you either need to use the Revelatum. Where you at, Revel? You either need to use the Revelatum to pregame 6, so he can move 6 and get to an objective, or you need to use the Mallocator to be able to move -9. Because if you don't use the Mallocator, then you have to use recon option for someone to be able to move 3 inches up to be able to contest one of these corner objectives. And those are your only 3 options to get to objectives that are very far. I'd probably go something like that, and then probably put this one here. But those are your ways to contest the mid-board objectives that are hard to reach. Is the Revelatum pregame move, the Mallocator move dash, and then the recon dash forward. None of those are particularly exciting, but having the Mallocator be more mobile like that, it lets you play into the primary mission, which as a pretty hoardy team is something you need to be focusing on. This team takes security and seek and destroy secondaries. Seek and destroy is my favorite. It's like the way I run it. It's not easy for this team to score. The route in particular isn't very fun. You don't really want to be moving on the other side of the board. Headhunter is really situational. Executioner is very difficult, even with the gunner. Into elites, assassinate target, and seize or incapacitate are really solid. Eliminate guards and rob and ransack, actually, weirdly enough, are 2 that I take a lot. I also like Headhunter, not because I get it 2 on it, but it's a consistent 1 and normally kill the leader at some point. Of these, I think Caesar Capacitate is the best attack op. Gather evidence means you have to not only perform a mission action with guys that don't really want to be doing that particular mission action, but then you need to also survive. And as tanky as some of your models are, this game is lethal. This game is mega lethal. And being able to survive at the end and not use both of those operatives, because it does require 2, is pretty difficult. The other one that's doable is Contain Threat. Against slower teams, Breachers is not a bad option. You want to you can take Contain Threat because you can charge into a lot of their operatives. And you only want to shoot their melee operatives, and then after that you just charge all their guns and be like, alright, cool. I'm in melee with you all day long. I don't care. But these 2 for sure are the 2 that you're going to consider. I think this is a complete trap. It's really bad. Especially since Siege, you get to choose who you're targeting. So if they have a forward operative, if they have someone you know they're going to want to throw into the fray, Chaos Space Marines Butcher, Chaos Space Marines Leader even, Phobos Reaver Sergeant, maybe not one of the gunner ones, but the Reaver Sergeant. They take an Assault Intercessor Sergeant for it. The Dwarves, I would choose the Jump Pack guy because he's the only one that's going to be moving forward with any speed. That's if you take Caesar Incapacitate. Contain Threat is a very solid one into Dwarves just because they're so dang slow. and you're high priority to kill that jump pad guy anyway. So those are some good ones. I don't like taking security with this team. Security requires you to either hold him off of your line, to either hold him back from your line, or to hold the center line itself, or to hold the middle of the map. Seize ground requires you to hold in a heavy piece. You're not mega lethal. This team's solid, but I would not call this team mega lethal or very lethal. I'd rank it 10, with Blooded being one of the most lethal teams in the game. And trying to think of anyone else that is just obnoxiously still just damage output. I'm a Blooded main, so I'm a little partial. But the point is that I would rate them out of 10, 10 being the most lethal, like a 3.5, 4. The team has consistent damage, but it's not, they don't have plasma, they don't have AP2. They'd never have a thing that you're like, okay, this is just going to delete that guy. Because it requires some setup, requires P1 getting off, requires a reroll. And it's very good, consistent damage, but it's not bursty enough to remove models all the time. And that's sort of what the team needs is to be able to burst and remove models, but that's not how this team functions. Even 8-win models can live if they have an extra 4-up save. So that's what I would gauge with this team. I like Seek and Destroy a lot more than Security, just from a standpoint. But that's what I would go with. So yeah, so that's the vast majority of the team. I want to talk about the matchups real quick. So game 1, I believe was against. Where's my game? Okay. So my first game was against Legionary with the map setup I showed you before. And I set up this play to make this a non-objective that he could hold. In which case he moved Ash's leader into here and did not take this point. I did end up 3-appealing the Revelatum, securing this point, and then throwing a grenade at him. Trying to get Headhunter. I think I had that game. Being able to put pressure on the game like that felt really good. The other thing is that his Shrive Talon got diced so hard into just a standard subductor. It was gross. I think I rolled 4 hits, and he rolled a crit and a hit one time out of 5 attacks, which means he had to parry or die because he's running Corn. So I parried and then did 4 damage, and then he fought me again, and I'm like, all right, cool, and I just do 4 damage and he die. He struck me before since he goes before the attacker, but the damage output was so low, it was obnoxious, and it determined a lot of that game. I think the subductors are super amazing into CSM. They'll take a plasma pistol, and they'll probably want to take either plasma or melt-a-gun, just to chew through the 3-up armor. I know you only have 8 wounds, but that means they only need 3 hits to kill a subductor instead of needing 4. And I think that's what they're going to do to try to kill the subductors. So I'd just go 4 subductors, your leader with the shield, and make sure your leader is avoiding the plasma as much as possible. Also, a funny thing, if they're within 6, they can't reroll the dice, so they will just take the hots. Fun. My next game after that was into Hunterclade. This game, I don't even know what to begin with. We were both shutting off rerolls. We're like, okay, cool. Who has better dice? I guess I sort of do. And I won that game a little bit. I had some decent pressure plays, but to describe like the benefits of that game is really difficult. And I'm not sure that I'm even qualified to. That game was so chaotic. I still have trouble getting my brain around it. Game 3 was against Kroot. And Kroot just did Kroot things. They played all their secondaries, recover item, and implant, and balanced books, and then went 3-3 and denied me 1 primary, and that's all it took. I did take security this game, and I really don't think I should have. I think I probably just should have gone route and eliminate guards, Maybe not Caesar Incapacitate, but route and eliminate guards and just go full Seek and Destroy and just start trying to wail on the recruit. Their mobility is really good, and I think I underestimated their shooting, which is going to be even worse now that they shoot better. My game 4 against Phobos, he sort of played into the Exaction plan of like we want to mob up together and being able to charge and do the double parry into like the Reaver Sergeant, for example, happened multiple times. So I had my Proctor on 5 health and then one of the Subductors on 4 health, but he also only had 4 health with 2 of his Marines, which because I repress, anytime he fights me, it just becomes a win because I just bonk him for 4. And I think that my opponent was still learning Phobos. Into Breachers for game 5. This was a pretty rough game to memory because I feel like I just could not get kills properly. I didn't get Caesar Incapacitate at all. I only got 1 Eliminate Guard. I don't remember if this was Into the Dark. This was Into the Dark. And I think I had a couple of moments where I just got diced. Oh, this is where the dog just came up and completely flubbed. Even with Relentless, he had like 1 hit, which was just absolutely depressing. So you definitely want the Leashmaster and Dog into them because they're going to GA2 and they're going to try to kill 2 or 3 models, and you need to be able to do the same in kind, especially on Into the Dark. So making sure your Leashmaster is with your Vox wherever that flank is so that they can +1 APL and threaten busting through a door and taking out models. It's something you definitely want to put in. Game 4 was against Phobos again, same opponent, and this is like how Phobos really wanted to play it. They played around me. I took Seek and Destroy. I think I only killed 2 models that whole game, and I killed 1 model turn 2 and then 1 model turn 4, something like that. It was just obnoxious. I couldn't get to him, couldn't threaten long enough. Phobos are just so much more mobile, and even with the Proctor shutting down some of the loot options for him, I just couldn't put damage in where I needed to, or threaten far enough up without chancing just losing someone, period. I think you sort of just need to disrespect their shooting a little bit and run up and be like, hey, you want to charge me to be on this point? Especially now that the Proctor is so much better. He can do work into them every time. But that's something I think you want to really start considering. Just running shields and running full on at him. I had a lot of models that were safe in a corner for a lot of the game, and it didn't score me enough points and put me on the back foot, I think. Game 7 against Hand of the Archon. This was Into the Dark, and this is one of the combos where the Proctor came into big with the Aquila. I moved up, opened a door, and put the Aquila on a point, and that meant that he could not score that point for the rest of the game. And it happened to be on loot, and he had to choose between doing anything at all or just standing on the point and looting it. And then once I got a model on the point, he could no longer loot it, so then he's just struggling to do anything on that point all game long. The other thing is that because the Hand don't really have great action economy, they don't want loot on Into the Dark, so I think it was just heavily favored for Exaction Squad to begin with. But it was a pretty solid game. You definitely want to be aware of their melee operatives, and because their melee operatives can just be very, very scary. One of them double parries as well. One of them has -1 damage. So you're doing 3/3 damage, so you need to really put a lot of damage into that guy to kill him, especially if they have the 6 up and no pain. Game 8 was against Felgor. And this is one of the most interesting game dynamics ever, because Felgor want to oppress and fight you in melee, and the Exaction Squad doesn't really mind you being in melee with me. I'm going to shoot you while you're in melee with me. So it's this really weird thing of like, can the Felgor bust through and get to the inner juicy workings of your team? I think you just go 4 shields and your Proctor with a shield, and don't let him ever get to the backline. Have the backline be very far back. The only charge targets make it the Proctors, so that they have to shoot you, which means they only get a single crack grenade. Maybe they take the plasma pistol, but bleh. And then they'll probably be going to want to run bludgeon, since it's a lot harder for a lot of your team to block the brutal. But even then, you don't really mind them charging you. Because if you get a crit, you just double parry them out, and you only take 4 damage on the odds. So it's really, really brutal. You can definitely put some pain in. They can go recon. I think if they're smart, they'll go recon into you just so that they can secure item, courier, and surge forward, just so they don't actually have to kill you to get through. It's not that they can't kill you, but they really struggle into the shields. I think I only lost 1 shield that game, maybe 2, but it was like when I did lose them, I was like on his home objective in the middle of his leader, his mangler, and one other model that they were punching to death. So there's a lot of interesting interactions with that game. Also, Stubber coming in clutch. You give that thing relentless, that thing's going to be a beast, and put a goat into frenzy every time. Real nice. Wish I had blast. Game 9 was also against Phobos, and this was on an Into the Dark loot mission, and they just played the mission super hard. They kept my team from getting into melee where I wanted to, and because the lanes are so split up, it's really not easy to interact once you dedicate forces to one side. The Phobos are just so much faster that on the flank that they ended up losing, they could relocate into the middle and push down my middle lane and take primary from me, where I'm not fast enough to both push and take the room, and that's all it took for them to dominate the game. It felt very one-sided. The last game was against Corsairs, and my opponent got a little lucky with their positioning, but I was also out of sorts with that game. They recovered well to counter my counter to their early move, but it's just they're so fast, and the hypermobility between the Phobos and the Corsairs makes that really, really difficult. I think this is a matchup where you take more shotguns than shields, because if they're going to charge you, they're going to have lethal 5. No, I think you still need the shields, because if they charge you and you get 3 hits, you can just kill them. So I think you need a lot of shields and to not get blasted. The Shredder just did work that game. It completely collapsed a flank, and this team's not fast enough to recover it. So when you have a shield wall, it needs to work and it needs to set up. And this did not happen there. So I also made a couple mistakes, but the Corsairs capitalized on those mistakes so hard it determined the game from the very onset, and I didn't have many options. So that was rough. So I ended up going 5-5 with the team. I think with the changes, I could probably consistently go 6-4, maybe 7-3 if I remember some of the things that I learned from these 10 games. If you want to push Exaction Squad to the utmost of what they can do, you probably need about 25 games with them before you really start to push them and learning the matchups and learning the power points. And it's a lot less about the matchups and more about the damage breakpoints. Because Nurgle, for example, messes with this team a whole lot, but you're not really afraid of Khorne. Because even if the Khorne can run in and one-tap you, it doesn't matter if you block out both his hits. So it's sort of interesting. Plus, they're going to take damage on the hit back. You're sort of less afraid of Khorne than you are of Nurgle Marines, which is a rarity to say, I think, for an 8-win team, since they commonly will have 2 operatives that can one-tap you, and then 2 more operatives that can kill you before you can do a thing. So it's an interesting dynamic, in my opinion. Yeah, so that's the way I would go about it. This has been my Exaction review, sort of a recap of everything I've been doing with the team. I played 10 games with them and went 5-5. I would not consider myself an expert with the team. They're very solid. I wonder if there are really that many experts out there. I hope we get some now that the team has some buffs. I want to bring some more life into this team. Having every team be competitive is really nice. I think that the Exaction Squad have some interesting matchups into the meta. Some of them less interesting. Like, I think Vetguard just stomps on this team really hard, because you don't have the blast to take out multiple models, and they can definitely delete your models. So it's a very different dynamic, I would say, with this team. I have not played the Inquisition matchup, which I imagine is just absolutely painful. But we'll see. Anyway, so this is my Exaction video. If you guys have any comments, feel free to drop them below. I know I had a couple misplays during the games with my opponents. If you're reading my bat reps, please note that I did talk to each of my opponents during those immediately after finding out that I made those mistakes, because this is not my main team, and let them know about it. And every single time it happened, we all agreed that it wouldn't have affected the game state anyway, so it's not the worst thing in the world, or at least it would not have affected too much of the outcome, whether I lost or won, or whatever the case is. The next team that I'm going to be doing with this is Crew Kinban, so look forward to that. They also got a buff in the data slate. Being able to add P1 to their guns will help with their shotguns, I think. Being able to give them ceaseless, etc. with their various guns is pretty nice. I'm going to have to learn that team from scratch, because I've faced them a couple times, and I've seen them played a couple times. But for the most part, I understand what the team's trying to do, I think. But to push them to wins is something a little bit different. And I'm going to see what the team can do. It is a 12 operative, 11 activation team. So it's going to have some tools. And we'll see what those tools are. The most recent game I had was using the new scout rules into them. Kinban just absolutely dominated that game. I don't think it was an issue of my use of scouts. I think it was just an issue of that particular matchup. So very good for Kinban. So we will see how it goes moving forward from there. If you guys like videos like this, you want to see more of them, you want to help me out, whatever the case is, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/KiddoCrew. It'll be in the description of the video as well. Check me out. I'll be posting all of my written bat reps on there as well. Those will be free for everyone. I do have a exclusive content for Patrons, and you'll get access to my Patreon exclusive Discord area, where you can make specific requests to me, and I'll help with training and practice and get you some reps in, or I can play a team that you're not familiar with, or whatever the case is. I'm really flexible on it, and hope to see you there. So until next time, good luck in your games. Bye.